Okay, so we just feel that we're getting to grips with these units of area that we've just talked about, going from kilometre squared to metre squared times a million, metre squared to decimetre squared times 100, decimetre squared to centimetre squared times 100, and centimetre squared to millimetre squared. And then they start to introduce something else. Here we have 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre, very scaled down, but here we have 1 kilometre squared. We have an area of forest of 1 kilometre squared. How many metres squared is that? Well, we know that it's the same as 1 million metres squared. And then they start introducing a new term here. And they call this term hektar. It's a Swedish unit of area where it's a kilometre squared of forest is a very, very big amount of forest. If you've just got a smaller, just a few Christmas trees that you've planted, we use the term often called hektar. So it's the same as 100 metres times 100 metres. So this would have an area of 10,000 square metres. So what's the relationship then between hektar and kilometres squared? Well, we've got 1 million square metres in a square kilometre, and we have 10,000 square metres in a hectare. So we'll cancel the zeros here, and we'll see that a kilometre squared is 100 times larger than a hectare. So, so we know that 1.7 kilometres squared would give us 170 hectare. What about this other, even more ancient Swedish term of ar? I think you have to think of it as being like the pirate word, ar, because it's called an ar, and it's a small area of 10 metres by 10 metres, giving us 100 metres squared. So how much bigger is a hectare compared with an ar? Well, to get that answer, we'd have to take the 10,000 square metres that is in a hectare and divide it by the number of square metres in an ar. And we get the 2's cancel. And we can see that 1 hectare is the same as 100 ars. So, if we have to go backwards and we wondered how many R's are there in a hectare, we would do the opposite of what we do up here, which is divide by 100. And if we wonder how many hectares there were in, to convert from hectare to kilometres squared, we would also divide by 100. Okay, let's say that I have a piece of land that is 37.5 hectares. And I'd really like to understand how big is a hectare. It's a new unit for me. I'm not quite used to what it is. How many square kilometres would that be? Because I can understand 1 kilometre in that direction multiplied by 1 kilometre in that direction. That's an awfully big area. Okay, to go from hectare to kilometres squared, I would divide by 100. So I would move my decimal point 2 places back, equals 37.5 divided by 100 equals 0.375 kilometres squared. So 37.5 hectares of land would be equivalent to 0.375 of a kilometre squared. What about if I was planting trees in a garden and I had 1,800 R's? How many kilometres squared would that be? Well, to go from R's to kilometres squared, I'd have to take the number that I have, 1,800, and if I divided it first by 100, I'd get to hectares, but then I got to divide it by another 100 to get to kilometres squared. And now I can just start to cancel zeros. 2 up there, and I have 18 divided by 100, which is 0.18 kilometres squared. So this is how we could go from Rs to kilometres squared or from kilometres squared to Rs, using the same method but just the other way around. So good luck with calculating with kilometres squared and hectares and